Hello. Thanks, everybody. Welcome. My name is Aaron Owens with Intelligent Demand, and we are really excited to have this conversation to build on everything that we've been talking about already in today's programs. This session is AI Essentials and Navigating Your First Purchase, and we have two folks here who are both go-to-market leaders. They are executives in their organization who are going to serve as a panel to discuss how to navigate that first AI purchase. They've both been through that at least once, and at the end, we want to welcome you to ask questions. So there's going to be time at the end for questions from you as well. So we welcome you to drop those into the Q&A area that many of you have been using throughout the day. So thank you for that. So to start off with, we have Lauren here. She is Vice President of Operations Transformation at EDB. Lauren, welcome you to the session. If you want to give everybody kind of a quick introduction, that'd be great, please.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. As Aaron said, Lauren Lowe, and I'm the Vice President of Ops Transformation at EDB. We're a Postgres data and AI company, and last year I was actually on the buying side, bringing on an AI vendor into our ecosystem. So it was fun, it was challenging, and happy to share any lessons learned.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lauren. And then we have Thomas Rogers. If Lauren has one of my favorite titles of Vice President of Operations Transformation, which is super cool as a RevOps nerd, Thomas has maybe the longest title, which is Vice President of Marketing, Technology, Analytics, Research, and Operations at Viant Incorporated. So Thomas, say hello to everybody.
Thanks, Aaron. Glad to have a chance to talk with you and meet you, Lauren. And yes, we went in slightly different directions with our titles. Marketing, Technology, Operations, Analytics, and Research are the teams that I lead here at Viant. And Viant is a healthcare performance improvement company, and that's just a simple way of saying we help hospitals and health systems reduce their cost, increase their clinical quality, and plan strategies for growth. So glad to have a chance to share some of my experience with you and in hopes that it's helpful.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, both of you. So we're going to dive right in. And like I said, as we ask questions, if there are follow-up questions that you have in the audience, we encourage you to drop those into the question section. We'll monitor those. If there's something that makes sense as a follow-up, we'll ask it. Otherwise, there'll be time at the end where we'll dedicate to those questions from the audience as well. So first up, Lauren, I want to tee you up with this first question, which is, what are the biggest opportunities today? So not someday, but really today, what are the biggest opportunities for marketing leaders or other go-to-market leaders to use AI to better reach their goals from your perspective as a buyer?
So I think that for today, if we're looking for the low-hanging fruit and the immediate impact, use AI for efficiency, not efficacy. Being in marketing, sorry, excuse that on my camera keeps on going here. Being in marketing, the joy you have of being in marketing is you have customers internally and you have customers externally. So use AI to make your processes as efficient as possible. Be it creating that first draft of content, whatever it may be, something where it just helps you get off that starting block so much faster, and it's not going to market. It's not going beyond your four walls anytime soon. It's just going to a human being for QA, for the sanity check. We all know about AI hallucinations, but as I said, it gets you to that starting block so much quicker, especially if you have writing block.
Right. That's great. So a lot of that on the generative side, creating content, first draft of content, et cetera. Thomas, what else from your perspective is a real opportunity for marketing leaders, sales leaders, and other go-to-market leaders that is currently proven in the marketplace today?
Yeah, so I think one thing is, and it's a sort of double-edged sword, is the options that are available. And certainly if you put a glass jar on the desk and every time a salesperson said AI, you put a quarter in, you'd probably fill it up pretty quickly. But I think the biggest opportunity sort of to build on what Lauren said is to look at the way that your teams are working today to focus on specific use cases and business problems that you want to try to sort of address. And so, it's not the sexiest answer necessarily, but focusing on how to improve your operations in the context of a business problem rather than pursuing AI and then trying to figure out how you could use it later. I think that feels like an opportunity to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying making sure that there's a clear business need that is being met and that you're applying the AI to. So what's the other side of the coin then? I'll start with you, Thomas, this time, thinking about the challenges then. So, AI is everywhere. It's certainly in everybody's brochures, whether it's in their product or not. And so I'm curious, what are the challenges as a marketing and go-to-market leader that you're seeing others facing when it comes to considering AI and bringing AI in? What are those sort of broad categories of challenges?
Sure. Broad categories of challenges. I think trying to find a way to integrate AI into an existing workflow, to not create a new process or introduce a new role or function. So for me, that's a big I guess challenge. Trying once you get it in, I will say we evaluated, and we have a particular sort of generative AI platform that we use. Once you get it in, it's already too late to sort of build your structure and governance around it, right? And so you have to start there because it's Pandora's box, or at least for us, in terms of how people are going to use it and how they're going to put that content into action.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Lauren, what are your thoughts on how to, what are the challenges that are being faced? And
I 100% with Thomas on the Pandora's box. You have InfoSec is, at least on our side, I think it's the most difficult. Is you have your ecosystem. You want to make sure that you're overlaying AI, and it's not going to. You have to really draw the boundaries and make sure that you are controlling everything you can control to the nth degree. I think one of the big challenges is there are so many AI providers today, and a lot of them are super niche. So, if you bring in one provider, sadly, they may only fulfill that one use case.
Yeah.
In my experience, I was trying to cover a couple of use cases with one provider. It does become very tough, and you just have to kind of figure out your trade-offs and go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And you both mentioned InfoSec, and so. If I were to zoom out even a little bit from there, I think about, InfoSec, I think about privacy, I think about data policies, I think about compliance issues, all of that. So if you think of that huge umbrella, what are the various considerations that are unique to AI when thinking through those compliance, InfoSec, integration considerations? Or is it not as unique maybe as folks think? Lauren, I'll kick it to you first.
I would say, I can speaking from my experience, it's really unique. AI is still super nascent, so we don't know what we don't know. And I just go back to I'm going to keep on referring because it just makes perfect sense. Pandora's box. Mm-hmm. So you really have to. What I found works well and what we've done well is. Think about sovereign data and sovereign AI. You're bringing AI into your ecosystem, but in a very constrained way. So your data is on-prem. It's not in the cloud. You ring-fenced it so that you can at least know what's in and what's out. Mm-hmm. Because once it spreads and you have to you spend more time QAing this thing. And that's just the nature of the beast. Your first implementation, even your second, implementation, be it a different use case, you're spending a lot of time tuning. You're understanding why things happen. Some things you'll never understand why they happen, and you have to be okay with that. So it's being able just to say, there's a little bit of secret sauce in the box, and you have to be okay with that. Really, long story short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I could answer that, Aaron, I think so part of my responsibility is helping our marketing function. We've got about 100 people helping to facilitate a technology evaluation process. And so, normally it's always, procurement and legal sort of in a real skinny way. As we were evaluating our AI platform, it was a lot more legal. And so, and again, to Lauren's point, it's not like our lawyers were sitting on all these answers that they were just ready to share. They had to go do work themselves. And thinking of a funny sort of outcropping of that, like as we were rolling out our platform, to our users to start generating content, we had to write down things and get our users to agree to those conditions before they would use it. And one of them was as simple as, don't ask the AI to create content that sounds like something that's copyrighted. And the example they gave was, don't ask it to write a Beatles song. So again, some of it's just trying to be ready for the nuance and differences that come with this type of a solution.
Mm-hmm. One of the follow-up questions here from the audience was, so with how fast AI products are advancing, how long of a contract do you recommend? Are you still looking at 1 to 3 year contracts, or do you tend to stay on the shorter side of that, or even shorter than that?
You want to go ahead with that, Thomas? You want me to take
Sure.
that first?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So we're definitely not doing 3 years. I can't remember what the trend is called, but with the release schedule of ChatGPT as an example, I think a lot of startups are trying to chase the latest update, and the latest configurations, the latest kind of advances. So yeah, we're doing it a year at a time, and making sure that whoever you partner with has a well thought out and developed roadmap for how they see their platform improving as well.
Yep. Agreed. +1. We're doing annual contracts. The first year, I would say a lot of it is going to be, as I said before, tuning. It's really quick and easy to bring a vendor in once you've sat with the lawyers and you've actually written down what needs to happen. A lot of companies don't have hard and fast guidelines for AI just yet when it comes from a legal perspective. InfoSec, it's sometimes there, sometimes not there. But once you've crossed all those battles, you've won all those battles, actually bringing them into the environment's pretty quick and easy. But then tuning the model and actually getting the outputs that you want takes a really long time. So, even in that first year, you're going to eat a lot of that time just in establishing the environment and understanding what's going in. You have a fairly clear idea what's going in, but what's coming out and how best to make it meaningful for your teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you handle the questions around, what you feed into the prompts and into the model, that information is staying secure? So whether it's intellectual property or if it's client data, what considerations are relevant there as far as setting up rules and policies around what can and can't go into there? So Thomas, more than just don't ask for copyrighted things. But what of your own stuff should you not be putting into there, or what things should you expect? Lauren, I'm going to start with you on that question.
Sure. So we took a pretty conservative approach in the beginning, where obviously no PII data was in there. We made sure that all of the data was in our environment and not going outside of our four walls, so to speak, so that we were having AI. Everything was coming in, but we weren't sending it out. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think what else. I think, it came down to control as much as we can control and only give the bare minimum of data, because you just don't know. Our first go around, we weren't sure what to expect and how unwieldy things could get. So we stayed very conservative initially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the same. And so for our organization, again, I help with marketing technology purchasing decisions. Involved legal a lot more in this one, but we also have sort of an AI committee that helps to guide our organizational strategy. And so one of my approaches was to sort of try to mitigate and spread out that risk. And so I partnered with them in a big way and said, hey, here's what I want to do. Here's what I'd like to do. Yeah. Help me think through the guardrails and things we should or shouldn't do. And we're going very, very, very slow on anything that could be considered patient health data, which we have a lot of access to. Like they're perfectly fine with me doing all the marketing, the content development things, but we haven't anywhere stepped into those more I guess riskier kind of use cases just yet.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So, Thomas, you mentioned that you have a committee that is helping to guide as an organization your AI investments and policies and things. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And then, Lauren, I'd love to hear from you after that too. If you have centralized budgets, committees, things like that that are helping to guide that or encourage investments in AI.
Yeah, so for our organization, we've got a business we call Data and Digital, and so that's the logical home. And they are a governing body, but they're also an implementer, an early implementer. So we have a marketing sort of generative AI solution that we use, but we also have an enterprise version of ChatGPT. And so it can do, all of the things that we know ChatGPT can do.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I like about the approach that we're taking is, they frequently call it sort of a bake-off, comparing different technologies, the functionalities, and actually using them in your daily work to try to figure out, ultimately, is there going to be one that wins over the other? So I would say the benefit of having that group is you take a multi-pronged approach and you get the actual experts involved. That's another thing is I can explain and I can think about what AI can help us to do from a content generation standpoint. But when you peel back the curtains and go into the real technical aspects, I need that group to help me to understand where the data is going and all that good stuff.
Sure. How about you, Lauren?
I would say it's a little bit different scenario where we're a rather small company. So once we got the relevant stakeholders around the table to say, oh, we're going to do this, how can we do this securely? Moving forward, it would be the same set of people. So we've informally put those guardrails in place and keeping track of what are the outcomes, what's working well, what isn't. We're kind of the go-to people to say how do we do this again somewhere else in the business?
Yeah. So a little bit less formal as far as like a standing structure, a little more nimble. And then Thomas, you're at a huge company where you're having a lot to navigate. So putting that formality and that structure in place makes sense. There's some great questions coming in from the audience. I want to focus on those to make sure we have time to answer as many of those as possible. This first one is great. How should marketing leaders manage expectations internally when adopting AI technologies? So this sort of dovetails what we just talked about of, whether you have a formal structure or you're just bringing in the various stakeholders on a case-by-case basis. How do you actually manage those expectations internally? Let's start with Lauren, if you want to give us your initial thoughts.
Well, maybe are we talking about managing expectations of how to use it or what to expect just from the outcomes? Is there any particular angle you're looking for here?
It's a good question. They didn't give us any more, but I would imagine probably around the outcome. So like what is it going to actually produce for you as an organization?
Yeah, I would, I go back to when we first kicked off the call. I would say if you're pulling in AI for the very first time, use it for efficiency, not efficacy. So really, it's just to get you started really fast and make your processes better and get you better information faster. So the internal expectation needs to be human beings need to QA everything. Whatever comes out of the output from your AI generator or whatever it is that you've implemented, that is not ready to ship. That is so far from being ready to ship.
Yeah.
So I cannot stress that more. Just make sure you have more than one human being looking at it.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Thomas, probably similar for you, but you have more stakeholders. So how are you managing all that?
Yeah, I think one way is to be real about what it can and what it can't do. That's one. The second thing I'd say is be honest and upfront about your intentions. We were not approaching AI as a way to replace people who worked on the team. We were approaching it as a way to make us all better at what we do. And so if you start there and then you involve the people who are creating content and helping them to do that better, I think at least in our situation, you get better engagement and people are less sort of concerned that, this machine is going to take over my job.
Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe as a follow-up here, there's a question here that is, what should marketing, or how should marketing leaders assess whether a particular AI technology aligns with their strategic goals? So building on what you were just saying, Thomas, about making sure that everybody's comfortable with what role the tool is going to play internally. I think you both mentioned some version throughout this conversation around making sure that you're looking for, that you have a problem you're looking for a solution to, not a solution you're looking for a problem for when hunting for this. So so how do you decide what particular technology aligns with your relevant strategies? Thomas, want to give us your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not to get too esoteric, but everybody's marketing organization is probably on some journey of some sort, and ensuring that the technology and the features and the benefits align to that existing journey, rather than trying to pivot or shape the direction that your organization is going, just to plug in AI. I know I sort of said that same thing before, but I think it's worth saying again. For us, for Viant, one of the things we're trying to do and have been doing with our marketing technology is lowering the technical expertise required to use the marketing technology. And that was before we engaged our AI platform. And so it plugged nicely into that theme that we were already down. So again, fit is a good sort of kind of catch-all for how to make sure something aligns with goals.
Yeah, and Lauren, I know earlier you were sort of saying making sure that you're seeing the tool as a way to help a specific person be more efficient at a job. So that sort of aligns with what Thomas is saying here around making sure, aligning to that theme of simplifying the use of technology amongst the workforce. I'm curious what else, Lauren, from your perspective, would you use when assessing which technology, AI categories or solution categories fit into your strategic goals?
I think it's really just that, keeping in mind that AI at the end of the day is a tool. As an organization, you've created your strategy. You know where you're going. AI is going to get you there faster and hopefully get you better insights faster. That's the name of the game. At least that's how we're using it. So we knew exactly what we needed to do, but we just said, is there a better way to do this with better information? We can continue down the path we're going now. It's just going to take us longer. But once we brought in the AI vendor, I'm like, wow, I could be doing what they're doing for us, but I would need an army of people and probably 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
That makes sense. So then what sort of tools should marketing teams and go-to-market teams in general, but marketing teams specifically, if to the degree we can answer it that way, what tools should they be prioritizing? We talked about a couple of different categories like content generation, a first draft of content generation. So I'm sure that's on the list, but that plus what, Lauren, should we be looking at prioritizing?
Ooh, good question. I think for me, it's anything around automation.
Okay.
And anything around the insights to make your automation better. We've built a couple of scoring models, the data going in there, how we're automating, how we're weighting, all of that. If we can get a first cut at that using AI and have it move faster and have leverage the better data, that is really meaningful for us.
Okay. Thomas, what are your thoughts? What should marketing teams be prioritizing?
Yeah, I think for me, looking at the points in your marketing process, whatever process that might be, that do require a lot of handoffs from one to the other. If you have an editor and you have a writer and then you have a producer, like the idea of sort of evaluating the process of how content gets created and trying to see if there's a way to shorten that cycle. And then the next would be just finding those production heavy aspects. And we partner with you guys at Intelligent Demand. And when you take a piece of content and have to version it out for buying groups and then personas, and then these permutations sort of amplify, and the promise of AI to support that is it's real.
Appreciate the ID plug, Thomas. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we have a few more questions here, but we are down to just the last few minutes. So we're going to do sort of a rapid fire. If there are any other questions that you have in the audience, please drop them in here. We'll get to what we can, but we have about 2.5 minutes or so. The next two questions are around actually evaluating vendors. So the first one is for vendors that you did not go forward with, what red flags or issues, if any, stopped you from pursuing that and maybe choosing a competitor? Thomas, let's start with you on this one.
Sure. I'm grinning because if I could leave this group with anything, I would just say be super aware and engaged as you're seeing demos of technology. I was at a conference, went to the trade show floor to follow, after a great session and great video, whiz bang, like everything AI was going to solve all my problems. Get to the booth and talk to a vendor, don't have to name and shame, but talk to a vendor and they go to give me a demo. And I see that they toggle into to Figma. And so they had a static demo sitting in the background so that they could show me what the functionality did. So I would just say that to me was a red flag, and not being maybe as candid at the beginning about the readiness. Again, I think vendors should take advantage of the fact that, a lot of this is wet cement. But if they're not going to be honest with you about where their capabilities are or upfront about it, to me, that's been a red flag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lauren, how about you? What red flags have you seen that have turned you away?
Yeah, 100% about the transparency. Anybody who says, "Oh, we can do everything," no, nobody can do everything. And again, as Thomas, like you said, once you get the demo, start asking the questions, get down to the math. I mean, there's always going to be that proprietary data and information they cannot tell you, but get to that point where they're like, that's our secret sauce. This is as far as we're going, and it's your comfort level. But at least if they've walked you through all of the math and you understand how the model's built, how the variables are being pulled in, how the dependencies line up, and you feel comfortable with that, that's when, you get to that point. If they're like, no more, at least if they've been able to take you that far, you can say, all right, they are legit. And this is some real stuff versus smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. So as we come here to the end, I want to say thank you, both of you. Thank you, everybody in the audience, for great participation. I know there were a few questions we didn't get to, but Lauren and Thomas, I'd love to give you a chance. 15 seconds. What's the one takeaway that you would say for somebody who is looking at making their first major AI purchase? Lauren, let's start with you.
Don't wait, only because the implementation takes a lot longer than you think. And when I say implementation, I'm including tuning time and whatnot. That takes time, and it should take time. You partnering with your vendor to really understand your business and what your needs are. They should be co-creating this model, so to speak, with you. So don't wait.
Thomas, last 10 seconds. What do you got for us?
Oh, it's very dramatic. I would say just make sure you're drawing your circle big, and include your normal stakeholders that you would, but also consider those that maybe you don't work with all the time that need to weigh in or, make use of something new and different.
Yeah. Lauren and Thomas, thank you once again. Great conversation. Best luck to everybody making your first AI purchase.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good one.
Good one.